Hey, this is sort of for you, Christopher Comstock. Um, I really applaud and love what you do on your channel, particularly with your KDL updates and all the stuff that your group shares related to the Voyager, the Guardian, the Christos, right? Um, the title of a video he just put up was called Transparency, right? And so I remember when I was a little boy, the importance of transparency, which is living in honor, living in the truth, which means you're not afraid to truly express who you are. Now, I know how that applies directly to, um, how would I put this, issues of abandonment, particularly if you're a child, the inner child, the innocence of awareness has been traumatized. What have a child doesn't know, what have I done wrong, right? So if that child hasn't healed, then that trauma, the shatter, the soul fragment, if you will, the fracture, right? What did I do wrong? I didn't know. And if the child is not healed, right, then you know what happens. That's an altar. That piece goes dark. There goes that piece. That mirror is not light anymore. That mirror is going dark. So the more trauma that occurs repeatedly, more and more and more, because we know that fetal integration abuse leads to child abuse, self-child abuse leads to what? Adult abuse, and they become the leaders of your community. So that's what ends up happening. You have the lunatics in the asylum running the movie set. And what do you think the end result of that is going to be? An obvious collapse. That means that as you increase and accelerate the amount of psychopaths that are accelerating from each generation to the next, what do you think is going to happen? All you got to do is do the math. I was doing that math when I was a little kid. So now you're getting into the speed in which we're healing and the speed at which we're losing fractals, right? Because we're back to the inverters chasing the artist. But the inverter can never catch up and overtake the first artist, which is the first sound, the primal sound field, the first eternal Christic star, which is the one true eternal, absolute love, which is the first true God, which is the first true star, which is an eternal star. So you already know, it's foolish, okay? Because that star is always on, which means that love is always there. You're not ever going to put that love engine out, no matter what you do. That's basic logic. Okay? Otherwise, is it really true that we can collapse the whole universe and then there wouldn't be any units of consciousness? In other words, there isn't anybody aware. There's no more self-awareness. There isn't anything that's self-aware anymore. Then you wouldn't know one from the other, would you? Because if there wasn't any self-awareness anymore, you wouldn't know whether there was anything self-aware anymore because there wouldn't be an awareness. Nothing would be aware of itself. That means there's no energy. Very good. That's called basic logic. That means you're sane. You haven't lost your mind yet. And that's what it goes after, is to drive us mad by driving our neurons mad, which are endocrine disruptors, which is to burn your nerve fibers out, the 7 nerve centers, bottom of your spine, the optical nerve center, right? The holographic visual movie set. And so when he talked about transparency, the first thing I thought about, for example, throughout the course of my life, whenever I had a relationship with a girl and I'm map reading her resistance. So we know what a capacitor is on a motherboard, which are the accretion levels, which is the speed at which we're healing, right? So what I'm reading in a girl that I met was how much resistance she has to heal. And the resistance that she had to heal was based on what? Intimacy. Because what we're talking about here is being emotionally available, and that's vulnerability. This is where I used to use certain terminology like shrinking violets. You know what it's like to have a pink rose in full bloom year-round? That's happy and joyful. Wake up every day happy and joyful. What do you want to go create today? What do you want to go do? Oh, the universe is open to all of us, right? Because your accretion level is running at 100%. That's as pure as it gets. That's the pure spirit of eternal fire. That's purification, purifying, so there isn't any shadow left. That's not what I am, right? I'm as pure as the driven snow, as we used to say, which is the inner child. And that means the child is emotionally available because that's the innocence of purity. That's why they target young children. That's basic logic. Oh, they want that essence. They want the purity of that energy. When you're dead energy, you know you need energy. And the purer, the better, right? Because what does that do? Life extension, right? Body snatchers, essence snatchers, spirits that get eaten, and all the above. So when he was talking about transparency, transparency means you're being what we used to call when I was a child, get real, be real. It's not necessary for you to have to pretend to be something that you're not out of fear of expressing to me everything that is being held in your cellular memory that is related to what? Miasma, trauma, the shadow body. That's what it is. Because if I make myself emotionally available, it means that I'm not living in fear to share with you all the stuff that I've experienced as a result of demonic implants. You know, black hole inserts, blowing holes in my own energy field, not being aware of why I'm doing it. And then you get into all the other elements that are related to that are related to trauma-based mind control. To keep that soul trapped in that system, being memory wiped and recoded until that soul's gone, which is the black hole beast system. Till it ultimately implodes when it reaches a Bardo threshold point. And so that becomes a known. Remember, what was his name? The guy that was the defense secretary talked about that? Unknown knowns. Known unknowns. The mathematician knows. The sun knows. The sun will give you the data. Right? The processor of a sun fused with the sun. How about when you're fused with the first eternal Son? The first eternal Son of God will provide you with the data. So then you know. That's why it's been scanning for dates, right? And so intimacy is transparency. It means you're not afraid to share everything that you do. Just like when I'm in the window with Karen McDonald, I've shared a lot with her. I just unload all kinds of stuff. Why? So she gets to know who I really am. Right? And because when people are being honest and trustworthy about all the shit we've experienced, demonic and otherwise, it means, wow, you just unloaded all your skeletons out of that closet. All the demons, all of it. Let's put it all out on the table, and we're going to purify it together. That's clearing the entire shadow body network interface of the entire universal galactic template. Imagine that. Now we can experience a universe that is in love with each other again. Whoa, now we're all emotionally available. That means now I really get to know you because I'm not afraid to tell you the truth. Out of fear, which is false light appearing real. That's right. So that's why we map the field. We know the difference between dead light and living light, which is what love is. Which means we're map reading the accretion levels. So you have to be very careful how you navigate the heart field. The sentient heart of another man or another boy or another girl or another woman, actually whatever it is that is a cellular membrane organism. Communicate to a giraffe. When I communicate to the horse, hey, how you doing, horsey? Right? It's an antenna. A horse is an antenna. It's picking up on your frequency, your codes. Just like if you ever seen that movie, Dr. Dolittle, that's sitting down with everything that's in nature. Did you ever see Tarzan? When there was like a bandito that was coming in there to go hunting, right, for big game, and Tarzan would call out, "Arr, arr, arr," and he would call out, right, and everything in the jungle, in the Amazon. And he was up there wearing his little cut-off trunks with Jane, right, up in that treehouse, right? Every bird, every aquatic life, all the flora and fauna would all come, right? And you see what's happening. That means that, wow, Tarzan was a Christos avatar. That was the message in the movie. Yeah. He was a guardian. Tarzan was a guardian. So all the other guardians came to help the guardians. So all the guardians were together. That's the message in Tarzan. When I watched that little movie, that black and white movie with Johnny Weissmuller, who was an Olympic swimmer, used to wrestle with crocodiles, the land of the crocodiles. Remember that? So being emotional available is transparency. That means I'm not afraid to share with you what it is I've experienced as a result of letting it go. That's what I do on my channel. Let it all go. So that all your nerve fibers are fully relaxed. That means that as the waves are oscillating back and forth between negative and positive magnetic polarity are in perfect balance. Hey man, I am feeling easy. Let it all go. Let it all go. Let it all go. And now you're experiencing the present moment on the vertical. The center point of that cross. The center point of perfect balance. Which is the law of least effort. To experience what? Absolute eternal love that's on fire to love us. And that's what we experience in us. We share with all of you. Yeah. So thank you, Mr. Comstock, for sharing that. That means being intimate, having an intimate relation with your own soul and your creator, right? That means, how well do I know myself, right? How do I know my true self? Do I know who I really am? Do I know the essence of my spirit, the nature of who I am, which is the natural form and flow of creation mechanics? Yes. That means that we know the difference between something that is unnatural and perverted. That's what demonic is. It's perverted, which means the natural form and flow of mathematics is perverted, which means the numbers lie. And the reason the numbers lie is because that state of consciousness is a pathological, psychopathic liar. It means it doesn't know right from wrong. So how are you going to hold something accountable that doesn't have a soul, that's running numbers? Which means the only way that it can continue to be aware of what it's aware of in energy is us, because it doesn't have a soul, until it runs out of fuel. Bye. Heading for the exits, right? Exit stage left. Who was that? Snaggletooth, that cartoon character, Snaggletooth, remember him? So anyway, have a beautiful afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Comstock, for your input. I love you too. Be good to yourselves.